Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Cranky Cameraman. I'm an independent director of photography. I shoot video for business and broadcast, and we're looking at December 6th right now. I am pretty much wrapped up for the year. As of this moment, I just got home yesterday from an 8-day trip on the road, shot a commercial package for a hotel and resort in Utah, and I think I'm done for the year. I try to take off December of each year, not jump on any shoots, and focus on that month to kind of wrap up business stuff, equipment repairs, and really make the final purchase decisions for the calendar year for tax purposes. I'm going to chapterize this video. You can go to the description and jump around if some of the subjects aren't relevant or you just want to skip past, particularly the tax info, because that is all obviously specific to my country, the United States. I'm based in Texas. This was my first full calendar year as a resident of Texas. I had a partial year in 2020, moved in August, and just for efficiency and simplicity, I ended up filing as I paid full taxes for all of my income in 2021 as a resident of California, even though I established my residency in Texas 2020 of August. Now, the reason why that is important is here in Texas, there is no state income tax, whereas California has got, I believe, the highest or second highest state taxes in the United States. Okay, so for 2022, effective January 1, I'm going to establish a new S corporation as a Texas entity. Same company name as what I've had in California for almost 20 years, but it'll just be Texas now. That means that's a new EIN. It's a brand new corporation from a paperwork perspective. I want to shut down my California entity for really 3 reasons. Number one, I have to maintain a mailing address in the state of California to operate as a company, even though I'm now based in Texas. I forget the exact legal names, but I have to pay an annual fee to a law firm. My mailing address in California is in Sacramento. I believe it's just at that law firm. That's like $250 or $350 a year, somewhere in there. So I won't have to pay that anymore. Second, just for the privilege of having an entity in the state of California, you have to pay an $800 fee to the Franchise Tax Board every year. I'll need to switch over my business insurance to the new entity. Again, even though it's the same name, I don't really want to start up a new business savings and business checking. I'm hoping I can maintain my existings and again, just update the EIN. There's some equipment I've been procrastinating on that I need to purchase. And now I want to purchase it before the close of the year so I can take the same year depreciation, which would deduct from my taxable income as a business for the year. So I'm going to fall into one of these 2 tax brackets. I honestly don't know where I'm at until I get the pro forma finished with my accountant, but I'm either in the 24% tax bracket or the 32% tax bracket for the highest block of income I earn. So if it's 32%, just as an example, let's say I have $10,000 in my business account and I use that money to purchase equipment, it's going to deduct my company's profit and shareholder distribution by that $10,000, and there wouldn't be taxes due on that amount. If I decide not to purchase equipment and I just want to distribute those profits to the shareholders, then I'm going to have a $3,200 tax bill on $10,000. I need to go through QuickBooks and confirm, but I believe the only big ticket item I purchased this year to date is the second FX9 package. I think it was around 16,000 US dollars. I bought the body, the 28 to 135 Sony zoom, the wooden camera battery plate, and I think that was it. No other accessories. I have 4 240 gig cards. I need to buy 4 more, but I got through the last 6 months with just 4 cards and 2 cameras. I've traveled all over the southern half of the United States over the past 18 months and worked with gaffers in different cities that are van package owner-operators, and the consistent theme I've seen is these owner-operator lighting people are adopting the Aputure instruments, and they all rave about them. The soft instruments, but more particularly the 300 and 600 series. And you can see in my previous video here on my channel, a power tool commercial I shot in Costa Mesa, California. The local gaffer in that market, Chris Phoenix, owns a van package and a ton of other gear. He and I have worked together for over 20 years, and Chris owns old school LTM 1200 PARs when those were the current model. He still carries a few. He's got Arri M18s, he's got sky panels, he's got a big inventory of KinoFlow instruments, including the Select Series LEDs, and then some of the old fluorescent units that have been upgraded to quasar tubes. But for the most part, he says now he's just working with those 3 Aputure instruments are where he starts. And then that old school stuff is just supplemental at this point. So he's got a 300D, a 300X, and a 300D. And I'm thinking I'm just gonna emulate kind of where he went. I'm gonna start with the 600D. I'm primarily gonna use that as a key light, either pushing into a 4x or 6x frame for a lot of my little documentary style stuff where I don't have a lighting person. And the barn doors are a good spill control for me right on the head to cut it in to just fill my 4x or 6x frame. Because I'm not going to carry 4x floppies and C-stands to box it all in. And if the shoot gets to that size, that means I'm going to have a grip package with dedicated crew. So at any rate, I don't think I need the Fresnel lens. And then I'd like to get the 5-foot dome. See, Aputure's got a new design coming out. It's not shipping yet. So I get that in the cart. Then I was looking at B&H. There's this other Zuma brand, 85 bucks for a 59-inch dome. So I don't know, I don't have an immediate production calling for any of this stuff. I may just wait it out on the soft boxes. And I know with the Zuma, I got to get a speed ring for it. I think the Aputure is all integrated in, speed ring, Bowen's mount. If you understand or have a recommendation for me on which 5-foot dome to purchase for the 600D, please let me know below. Then I was also thinking I got this little 19x51 soft box with a grid for 39 bucks. The grid thing, I'm still in shock, so let me grab something off the shelf. So this is a 6x Light Tools grid. I purchased this about maybe 18 years ago. 6x, this one is a 50 degree. I actually prefer the 40 degree, it's a little more versatile. This thing was like over $2,000 when I bought it. And now you buy a softbox and it comes with the grid. I've got my Chimiras. I sold my Joker 800s a couple years ago, but I kept the Chimiras. And I think the medium-sized Joker Chimera was like $400. The grid was several $100s additional. And I think the speed ring was like 100 or 150. Now those were hot lights, and I know those boxes and the grids and everything are rated and treated to take the heat, where all this new stuff, obviously it doesn't get hot, so I assume that's part of keeping the price down. But also I got to assume like all this stuff was patented back in the day and now it's not, and that's why there are a whole lot of brands. Because back when I bought this thing, I think Light Tools was like the only option for grids. $2,000, but I got my money's worth out of this, because this was as a working DP shooting commercials, this was like a kit add-on item for me. I'd get on a show and we'd have like a 5-ton grip truck, and I could bring my grids and get a little bump to my rate from that kit fee. And man, I love these things, especially on sets versus locations where, you know, we got a flat and it was the right color for art and client, Pantone matching their branding. But then like I just want to control, have an actor walk to camera, and with a little angle finesse on your frames, you could gradient control the illumination level to kind of balance it out. So when they're further away, they got more grid facing them, and then as they walk towards camera, it's more angular, and that's, you know, obviously how the grid works. It's cutting sections of the light source so you could balance out the illumination level. Moving on to the 300 series, my primary intention with the 300 series lights is specialty lighting in the background. So if I've got a product I want to light up, like the Amira over my shoulder, this is a conventional Arri 150 Fresnel hitting the camera, and I'd like the 300s for that. So Fresnel lens, barn doors, dimmer control. I think in most scenarios I'm going to be running it at a very low level on the dimmer, but I do want bicolor so I can warm or cool down my accents in the background. And I see that the Mark II currently, at least on the B&H site, is only available in daylight. And I need to go gold mount, although I have no problem switching out plates if the only availability is V-mount. But I don't know if that exists yet. I saw they have a Mark 1X 300X, and maybe I go with those. Or the other consideration, I have not used them yet, but several people have recommended them to me, is the Intellitech. I think it's 100 series. And they've got a little kit with 3 of them for $2,000. So basically for the price of 2 of the Aputure 300s, I could have 3 of the Intellitech. Now I know they're a little smaller, they're not as bright. maybe I don't need that much punch. I definitely want the bicolor ability. Do these have yeah, 2800 to 6500 Kelvin. Comes with a case. That's cool. And do they have a Fresnel lens? Because I definitely want to go Fresnel. Yeah, I think the Aputure Fresnel fits on the Intellitech. Well, if you have any experience with the Intellitech, or specifically you've worked with both, I'd love to hear the positives and negatives to each. Maybe I just get the 300X for now. I don't know, I haven't really made up my mind. The Manfrotto convertible boom stand. I just worked with this on my shoot in Utah. Our second unit crew had one, and they were using it to arm out a little Aputure light. I think it was a 60D for some desk scenes, and I was super impressed. Things intended for a boom pole, but also works for small lightweight lights. So I'm gonna buy 2 of these. I love that it folds up where the boom arm goes inside the stand, and overall the length is less than a C stand. So my thinking is I can use this in place of a C stand for a lot of my projects. Like, for example, the backlight that's hitting my shoulders and head right now is armed out on a C stand. My goal in life is to never have C stands on my truck. And this would allow me to do the backlight, little specialty downlight for tabletop stuff. And more importantly, when I do those 3-camera, 2-person interviews, the network TV thing where I have a correspondent and a subject, we've got 2 cameras over the shoulders and close-ups and a 2-shot wide, but I want the key lights filling the direction of the face where the person's looking, which would mean the stands and instruments are in the shots, in the 2-shot, unless you can arm them over, or if you're on a stage, we would light from a grid. But as I referenced in a previous recent video, I'd love to do this with the small crew, you know, myself and a producer, or like 3-person crew, producer and 2 cam ops, to just boom out. And a lot of the network TV shooters, this is the kind of thing they carry. So anyway, I'm gonna buy 2 of those. I'm excited to put them to use and remove a few C stands from my truck. Okay, the high dollar purchase for me is a proper high-end audio kit, you know, enough equipment to mic 2 people to like a high level broadcast quality. I am not at all fired up to do this. I've managed to avoid the high-end audio kit for my whole career. When I was working in California, there is such a saturation of sound people that production always just takes care of it. They know there's gonna be a sound person, it's gonna get covered. What I'm finding here in Texas is there aren't as many sound people, although the ones working in sound are very high level, they have all the right kit, they know what they're doing, but supply and demand thing, it's just they're much more expensive than California. It's also been a push for me, like I'm realizing I need to bump my rates now that I'm in a market with a similar dynamic. But I've got these long-term 10, 15, 20-year relationships with producers with these older numbers, and I'm trying to get the new sound folk rates that are here locally, but it's hard to get. And then a few times I've got the rate, but then by the time we're ready to book, that sound person's already on to another thing and they're not even available. And in California, I had a list, you know, I get like 8 or 10 people I always work with, and if they were all unavailable, they could each give me 3 referrals. Like, I never had a situation where we had a shoot where we couldn't fill the sound role. And that's not the case here. I've worked with maybe 4 sound people. One is someone I've worked with, Gino. You've seen him in my videos. He's based in Austin. He's formerly from Los Angeles, the Long Beach area. He and I have worked together for a long time. So Gino's covered for me, but he's on TV shows. He's always on the road. So I'll get him on hold. I'll have my like little 2-day gig, 1-day gig, and he'll hold it for me. And then he calls me, he's like, dude, I just got offered 3 weeks on the road. Can you cut me loose? You gotta cut me loose. And yeah, I'm not gonna hold him to it. I let him go. So I have these like 2 extremes. It's either micro budget, 2-person crew, so it's me and an assistant, not really me and a sound person, and I just have my boom on a stand, hard patch to camera over an XLR cable. I carry a couple of these Rode wireless goes. I have a similar package with my kit that I leave in Los Angeles. I've got an Amira there with 2 PL zooms and 2 of the Sony UHF series wireless lavaliers with Oscar Tech mics, and then I've got, I think the Sonys, they came with Sony mics. They don't sound as good as the backups. And then I've got a Rode shotgun and I think an Octava cardioid, single boom pole stand, fish pole holder. So I basically can do the little E&G interview jobs. Back in California, all I gotta do is jump on a plane or get myself there. I don't need to bring any gear. I love that, and it fills the same void there. And then back there, like I said, if it goes bigger, I can just hire one of my sound people I've got a 20-year relationship with, and it works with the budget. Anyway, I'm not finding that here, and it's multifaceted, right? Like I said, like there are less sound people to go around, and just a lot of the work I'm booking here, because I'm the new guy and it's a smaller market, they're not as big of a project. So I'm finding I can get the budget in where I have a 2-person crew, but I got to provide the equipment, and I may or not be able to get a proper kit rental on it. And I really don't care, because at that point it's an enabler for me. I want to book it and go out and shoot. I want to be the director of photography. If I can get my camera kit on, all the better. And if that producer then says I need local sound, if I can help fill it and get a proper sound person and that producer can afford that person, great. But if I can't get a sound person or it doesn't meet the budget, I don't want to lose the shooter job because I can't fill sound. So if I build out a proper sound kit, I'm confident I can train up a couple of local people that will help me set lights, help me unload the truck, and then for a sit-down interview, they can get out the bag, they can pin a lav on a person, hidden or visible, watch the levels. I've been doing broadcast E&G audio my entire career, so I can confidence check while I shoot. I can monitor levels while I'm shooting. That's like no problem. And again, like 99% of this kind of stuff is a sit-down interview, one person on camera, they're not moving, and frequently I do it single mic. I choose, it's either a lav or a boom based on the wardrobe, the sound issues. I found when I'm solo operator, 2 mics for redundancy actually ensures a fail point more so than having one. If I have one mic to listen to in my 2 ears, I'm gonna know when there's a problem or not. But if I'm like lav, boom, I'm following focus as they lean and move. I gotta hold the composition because they sit up and then they slouch and they lean. It just like, once I start multitasking on all of those things, I found I fail. But if it's just a lav mic, I can still op, I can chase focus on an interview, I can follow levels, I can listen for background noise, I can listen for clothing, ruffling noises, and lav is always a last resort for me. I always start with a boom. Okay, let's get to the specific audio kit. Let me know your thoughts on all of this. I have had 2 career location sound people in California that I've worked with for a long time help me put this kit together, but I'm always looking for alternatives. I just want the thing that's standard, easy to use. No one's ever gonna question the quality or selection in kit. But at the same time, like, this is not my trade. This is like the 2-person broadcast TV or corporate interview kit. Okay, so sound devices mix pre 10. Now really my mixer requirements are pretty simple. I definitely want and need timecode in and out so I can sync the recorder with my cameras. And I need a minimum of 3 ISO tracks of audio recording, 2 lavalier mics, and a boom pole. 10 channels is massive overkill, but in the sound devices ecosystem, I believe the Mix Pre 10 is the lowest price point that allows timecode IO. And next, I need to send balanced 2-channel audio out of the mixer to my primary camera. Most of what I shoot is broadcast television, direct to air. So I need clean final audio on camera. They're not going to go to a double system record. And the other piece of my work are these like corporate communications things or stuff for web. And the idea like clapping a slate and the editor going back and syncing the ISO record audio and using that for the edit, I'd say it almost never happens. And when it does, it's because of some other fail in the supply chain. Okay, so the Orca bag. And then this is not the right breakaway snake. I got to talk to the folks. I want the 20 or 25 foot breakaway that's made up specifically for that Mix Pre 10, which has got the TA3 connectors. I do want a cable that also has timecode on the breakaway, hardwired, and then the headphone return. Jumping into the wireless audio side. So here's kind of what I settled on. Top end transmitter, I don't know all these model numbers. So the SMWB, that's the single battery, compact, top end model transmitter from what I understand, dual power. And then the E&G style dual channel receiver. And then it's got the necessary TA3 to XLR breakout cables. And I'm gonna make up or buy separate a D-tap to power connector here so I can power this in the bag. Oh yeah, and then it includes 2 Sanken mics, Cos 11Ds. I'll buy some additional windscreens and clips and all that stuff. I got some notes from another sound guy on a third-party super stickum things for hiding the 11Ds. And eventually, I know I need to buy backup lavs. I'm just gonna start with the two, you know, maybe 6 months from now, I'll buy two white color 11s. So I got the two color options as well as redundancy. But to start, just basic. And going back, like 90+% of what I shoot is a single person mic, single person interview or single person walk and talk. So just having a second channel is already redundancy. The Hiroshi to D-tap cable to power the mixer off of D-tap. I'm not going to invest in MP1s. I don't want to buy new batteries, new chargers, and have a whole new system to maintain. I'm going to run my audio bag off of gold mount batteries, so I'm streamlined. Everything on my truck, cameras, lights, monitors, audio, wherever possible, runs off a gold mount. And then I've got the sleeve and hot shoe adapter for the electro receiver, so I can go direct to camera for my news type of assignments where I'm doing solo audio, bypass the mixer, wireless straight to camera. For power distribution in the bag, eventually I'll probably standardize on that PSC power distribution block. But to start, I'm just going to use one of my existing D-tap splitters directly off one of my gold mount batteries, and I D-tap cable to Hiroshi for the mixer, and then the electro cables. I think I actually have a bunch of D-tap to the size connector on that electro receiver. I've already got some here in the shop, so I'll just hack and modify what I have to get this kit up and running initially. I am not going to buy a Denicky Smart Slate to start. They're like $1,200. The mini size is the one I prefer. I'm going to wait until I have a job that requires it, and I'll invest in it. I mean, I've found, again, in my little cycle of work, the only reason they're clapping a slate at this point, it's like the corporate video job where they want to make it look like a movie experience. Everything's jam synced now. Locket boxes on the cameras are hardwired. You can essentially auto sync in the editing packages. You know, no one's looking for the whack to line up, or you're only doing that if you failed to keep it synchronized. But even if I have a break in timecode and I don't have a slate, all of my cameras, I'm just out of routine, I always have an open mic on every camera. So I've got wild reference audio. Worst case scenario, you can sync audibly. And that's also automated, assuming you can associate the two clips to each other. The waveform will auto sync. Okay, last item, timecode locket boxes. I haven't used these, but sound guy recommended them to me, the Nano Locket. I've used a bunch of the other ambient products for timecode boxes, but I like these because they're 3 buttons, super simple, easy enough for a camera guy to figure out, and I need to get the associated in and out LEMO cables for these. But my thinking is the audio mixer is the master clock outputting. In most scenarios, I will just use the breakaway, the internal BNC cable, to jam the camera so it's always connected to the mixer, and I don't even have to introduce these lockets into the mix. And then if I'm in a 2-camera shoot without a breakaway, I can jam these 2 lockets to the mixer and then hang the lockets on the cameras. Correct me if I'm wrong there, do I need a 3rd locket in the mixer bag so that the lockets are the master clock for everything? Like, is the mixer reliable enough, powering up and down to maintain sync? I know my cameras aren't. I don't know on the mixer side. Okay, longest video I've ever recorded, but it is chapterized. Final subject is saving. So I did it okay this year. Not as big as my California years, but that was by design. This could have been the highest income year of my career had I chose to remain a resident of California or been willing to spend 50% of this year back there couch surfing or staying in hotels. I would have crushed it this year, but part of my plan with moving was to work less, get my personal overhead reduced that would facilitate my ability to not have to hustle and chase every booking. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think I actually worked a little bit too much. But with all of that said, I did manage to save some money this year, did okay there. I didn't contribute anything into any kind of retirement savings. I actually haven't done that for the last couple of years in the terms of like a traditional retirement account, deferred retirement like 401k, IRA, or here in the States we also have a thing called a Roth IRA, which is after-tax money. In every case, I didn't do that because I've found now that I've got a bunch of money in those retirement accounts, I'd rather have future savings go into something that's more liquid. So I've been putting everything this year into a brokerage account and investing it in the S&P 500, just a standard index fund, very low fee. And I consider that liquid capital. You know, if I have an emergency expense, or I got a big piece of equipment I want to purchase and I don't want to use debt, within 7 days I can sell that stock, pay the tax, transfer it over to my bank account, and make a purchase. All right, if you made it this far, thank you. We can continue the discussion in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and have a wonderful closeout to 2021.